David Fu.
Yes, thank you. I don't have any new material to request for our calendar, but I do have to take this opportunity to address a matter of, as a matter of personal privilege. Despite the city's admonition that confidentiality be maintained on this issue, either Member Kwan or her friends have publicized everywhere that they can that she initiated a harassment claim against me with the city. As this matter is clearly now a public issue, I have up until now maintained my silence because of the direction to maintain confidentiality, but today I will now address this issue. So on February the 27th, the city's Independent Investigation Council notified me that the investigation had been closed and it was found that none of Sharon's allegations against me were sustained. This is the same way you could say that they were found to be false. I'd like to just quickly address some of the history behind this to put this in context. So on May 6th, during a recorded city council meeting, Sharon made the statement that women were more qualified to serve on the city's ad hoc Olympic committee because they were women, and that bilingual members were more qualified to serve on that committee as well. At that time, I said to her, you know, I'm sure you didn't intend to make a sexist statement, but that was a sexist statement. I'm sure that you didn't intend for it to be that way. I urged her to reconsider that. I reminded her that gender has no role in our determination of who should be qualified to serve in any capacity in our city, and that further, the question of being bilingual is not the basis for which we would determine someone's qualifications to serve in the city. Then Sharon called me a sexist and told me that I had been a sexist since I'd come to the council. Now this was odd because Sharon and I had been friends up until that point. I'd been away for a couple of weeks. I was calling in from Madrid. I hadn't seen her in a month and only saw her at city council meetings. She had never said anything to me that I had done anything, mistreated her, been impolite, or that anything about me was discomforting to her. On May the 20th, when I returned from Madrid, I delivered about a 15-minute response wherein I outlined my lengthy history supporting women and advancing their careers as lawyers and as judges and justices in our state court system. In addition, I referred to a number of people whom I had assisted or whom I had helped to advance in their careers. They were friends, they were my law partners, they were my own personal lawyers, and they were lawyers that I had hired for the Arcadia Fire Department Foundation, all of them women. At that time, I said, given the lack of any facts to support this idea that I had engaged in any kind of sexist behavior, that I could only assume that this was merely a political ploy of some kind, but that I didn't really want to think that. About 10 days later, Sharon made further allegations to me, to the city, but at that point, then, her complaints had morphed into sexual harassment allegations. Again, nothing like this ever occurred, but it did not prevent Sharon from making those allegations. When I was interviewed by the investigator told me that Sharon had complained, that I had saved seats for her at meetings, that I had taken selfies with her, that I had texted her too many times, and that I was not nice to her during meetings. I explained to the investigator that when we attend public events, the host organization saves seats for us. And because there are 5 of us, they save 5 seats. Now, sometimes the seat next to me is open. Generally speaking, other members of this council won't sit next to Sharon because they don't like her and they don't trust her. But I was trying to be Sharon's friend. I'd never made that point, and we were attempting to be engaging in collegial behavior. But I said I never saved any seats for Sharon. And in fact, I showed the investigator a text string wherein Sharon had invited herself to come and sit next to me. The investigator said, well, she invited herself to sit next to you. And I said, exactly. I looked at my text history with Sharon, and I saw maybe 7 text messages between me and Sharon over the approximately 1 year that I had come to know her at all. I don't believe that that's a lot of text messages. I never said anything that was improper. I never said anything that was forward. I never said anything which was controversial in nature or sexual in nature, nothing like that. In fact, I had urged Sharon to become friends with my wife, Natalie, because they both speak Cantonese, and I thought, you know, we're going to give Sharon the benefit of a doubt, even though other people think that she's not trustworthy. I told the investigator that I have selfies with a lot of people, that I've served with the last 2 Chief Justices of the California Supreme Court, both women, and that I have selfies with them. And that's because we were colleagues. We were colleagues on the Judicial Council, the board of directors for the judicial branch. There was nothing improper about that, nothing untoward, nothing creepy. We're just friends. I reminded the investigator that, unfortunately, we're politicians, and politicians take a lot of pictures. If you look at Sharon's Facebook page, there's selfies of her with other people, with men, standing very closely. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And certainly, there was nothing about my pictures with her that set that apart, except suddenly she decided that they were offensive. Simply, normal people don't say things like this. Normal people don't turn on you and try to take something out of context and attempt to weaponize that unless they are trying to seek some kind of political object. I had said on May the 20th, several months earlier, that I hope that these fake allegations are not merely some political ploy, and yet that's exactly what they turned out to be. Now, you know, I don't really care about me. I don't care about Sharon. I don't care about her friend April Verlado, who's been disseminating all this stuff and initiated a recall against me based on these fake harassment allegations. I don't care about that. What I care about is so far that this fake investigation has cost the city $60,000. And now they want to try to initiate a recall campaign and a ballot measure, which will cost the city another $250,000. You know, spending the city's tax dollars on idiot errands like this is offensive to me, but I know that it's really offensive to the people that Sharon represents. You know, most of them who come before us are really bona fide deficit hawks. I get it. That's fine. I understand. We need people like this to step forward and to make their voices heard in this community. But when these kinds of fake allegations, this kind of sleaze, makes its way into Arcadia politics, we have to draw the line. So I only have 3 questions for Sharon at this point. One is, are you going to apologize to me for your fake allegations? Number 2 is, are you going to apologize to the people of Arcadia for wasting $60,000 of their money? Number 3 is, because you're always talking about how much money you have, are you going to reimburse the city for the $60,000 that's spent on this scurrilous investigation?
Councilmember Sharon Kwan.
This is to our city attorney. As you know, they've changed the code of conduct to what we should speak and what we should not speak. And this is really shocking, where it's not on the agenda, and David Fu has the privilege of speaking so long, and no one has stopped him. If it were to be me, I think I was being asked not to say anything because it's not on the agenda. So this is exactly what's going on in the city council. There's a lot of bias, and also I would say there's a lot of unfair treatment. I don't know how this could happen again and again and again, So I just want to ask you, why do we change the way we conduct meetings? Can you please fill us in that?
So I can, and we do have our procedural rules that would allow any council member to request a point of order whenever a council member is speaking. So that's an option that all the council members have, as we've seen up here has happened from time to time. As far as one of the items that's within the rules is the ability for council members to respond to a matter of personal privilege. And generally, personal privilege is generally when there's something that involves them personally, as opposed to something that would be a discussion among city business. Generally, that's in response to something being said at public comments or things like that. So you certainly, as council members, have the options to, anytime you believe something may be outside of the rules of decorum or otherwise, you can step in and request a point of order, and I'd be happy to provide an interpretation. In this case, I would say, as the council member Fu prefaced, what we heard was a matter of personal privilege. I would extend the same response to you, that if you want to respond to it, you certainly could as a matter of personal privilege as well, as long as we're discussing the matter at hand and not discussing city business or items that would come before the council.
Thank you. I want to let you guys know, this city council with 4 votes against mine. As you know, there was a lot of things that are very unfair. And I also find the findings to be, I guess, biased, because the person was hired by our city manager. And as you know, city manager works for the majority. But what I want to say is I really don't think the finding was fair, and there's a lot of problems, issues with that, is because basically I have to say I did not even finish my interview, and they have made a conclusion of that. And so I don't know what to say, but I really think this kind of personal attack, and also this kind of cross-examination, and has been happened over and over and over again. As you know, David Fu is an attorney, and he basically likes to cross-examine or basically have all these accusations on people. So I just don't know what to say to him, because people like him with that kind of character, I just don't know how to confront. I'm not going to say anything because based on the finding, I should remain confidential, because that's what I was asked to. So it's very shocking where he started to make these announcements in public, but I really think there's a lot of, unfindings to the findings. So anyway, I just don't know what to say, but this dais has always been that way of how my colleagues conduct business. So I just have to say the finding is not accurate, and I do not believe it was fair. I do not believe the way that they interviewed, or they didn't finish the interview, or the conclusion is accurate at all. So I don't know what to say. It's just there's a lot of problems with the city council.
So Sharon,
and I also think there's a lot of problems
You didn't disclose this
with
investigation to April Verlado? She didn't send out 2,000 emails repetitiously based on what you were telling her about the investigation?
I want to let you know I'm not going to answer any of your questions, because it has always been like this. And so I want to ask you, why are you asking these questions? Can
I'm
you let me
asking
know?
Because you lied. You didn't treat me fairly, and yet you're complaining about not being treated fairly on council. It's obvious.
Well, you are entitled to your own opinions, so I think I would not be able to answer what you have to say. This is all I have to say. I just don't want to waste the public's time to carry on something that will go on forever. So my conclusion is that whatever you said, I disagreed, and I just feel like it has been ongoing for so many months since my mayorship, and so you are entitled to your own judgment or opinion or your findings. It has nothing to do with me. Thank you so much, and I would want to stop this conversation and not to waste the public time, because it's more like a personal retaliation rather than, this is not a public interest topic. So thank you so much.
At this moment, because this item is not on the agenda,